buttery crust. Baked buttery flavored crust.
What up, y'all? So today we're making burek. If you're not familiar with what burek is, it is, in my opinion, the single best thing you can get on the streets in Bosnia. You can get it in other parts of the Balkans, but don't kill me, my fellow Balkan folks. Bosnia does it the best. And this is where it's going to get pretty controversial. This is why I think, the reason it's the best in Bosnia is because we have a specific name for a pie filled with an ingredient. For us, burek is one thing. That's a pie with meat filling. And then we have krompirusha, which is a pie with potato filling. We have zajanca, which is a pie with spinach and cheese filling. We have sirnica, which is a pie with cheese filling. But if you go to other parts of the Balkans, they just call it burek with meat, burek with cheese. And doesn't it just make sense that a group of people that have a specific name for a dish put a little bit more effort into each dish? I'm just saying. But either way, I love all y'all in the Balkans. We're homies. So let's talk about burek a little bit in general. Burek is essentially a phyllo pastry with meat. There's different ways to do it. You can stack it, you can get it rolled. Sometimes they come in little sticks, but it is greasy, flaky, rich, savory, and delicious. In its simplicity, it is laborious thing to do only because we're gonna make the phyllo dough from scratch. There are a lot of ways to do it. If you are a person from the Balkans, or you're a nana, or you're a Micah, or you're somebody's grandma, please don't hate me. I'm gonna do it my way. I don't know how to use an oklagia, so we're gonna be stretching it with our hands on a bed sheet. On top of that though, and this is where the real breaking of tradition comes, we're gonna make a buffalo chicken version. Because just as much as I am a Balkan boy, I've been in Georgia for about 30 years. So we're gonna do lemon pepper wet, and we're gonna do burek. That's what we're doing today. Let's get it.
So to make phyllo, you really only need 3 ingredients: flour, water, and salt. Often you'll find sometimes in recipes they'll add olive oil or oil. Often you'll find that they don't use direct measurements, and I think that's just from years and years of repeating the same motion and understanding that the flour is not going to act the same way every day. But after about a decade in the hospitality industry, you realize how important it is to maintain consistency. And when you're trying to teach someone something in the world of baking, you really want to have proper measurements for them to be able to follow. So I like to maintain about between a 60 and 63% hydration, because that's where I find you get the most malleability and strength in your gluten when it comes to stretching this phyllo dough out. So after you've kneaded the dough to a relatively smooth ball, you definitely want to let it rest for about 20 minutes to fully hydrate before giving it that one last knead and then balling it out into your portions. So I'll take this one ball, break it down into about 4 equal pieces. I'm not going to measure because I know I'm going to end up with roughly 400 gram balls, and then we'll ball those up tightly, hit them with a little bit of olive oil, and then wrap them up in some plastic wrap and let them rest while we do the rest of our prep. There's a saying in Bosnia: first you cut your onion, then you decide what you're going to cook. With that being said, get to dicing. Go ahead and dice up 2 small onions, separate them. One will be for your chicken mixture and one will be for your beef mixture. We're gonna move on to our chicken. You're gonna need about a pound of chicken. I highly recommend getting a dark meat with the skin on. So I grabbed some drumsticks here. They were just cheap at the market. You're gonna wanna season them up with some salt, pepper, vegeta, olive oil, and then we'll sear them off in a heavy bottom pan to get a little bit of color. Pull them out, throw half of your onions in there that you reserved for the chicken. Give them a little bit of sweat, and then pour about a quart of water in there, and then put your chicken back in and just let it simmer until they are fully cooked for about 20-30 minutes. Strain out the onions from your liquid and save that broth. We're gonna need it later. Now you wanna pull all the skin off of that chicken, put that separate. Go ahead and pull all the meat off of your chicken. Once you've pulled all the meat off, run your knife through it. Chop it up real nice. Chop up your skins. Fold that into your chicken. Take all those reserve onions that you saved from the broth and fold that into that mixture as well. Once you have that mixture, go ahead and get your favorite hot sauce. We use Frank's here because it's the best. This part's completely up to your tastes, but use however much hot sauce you need. We're gonna need about a pound of beef. I like to use something pretty fatty, so like an 80-20 does a good job here. And the half of the onions that we reserved, we're gonna put all that into a bowl that is entirely too small. We're gonna season that with salt, pepper, and vegeta. What is vegeta, you ask?
Vegeta. I put this on pretty much everything. I tell my friends I call it communist seasoning. Invented in the 50s. It's basically a dehydrated mirepoix with MSG, salt, some sugar, pepper. This is ex-Yugo gold. Apparently, it's gluten-free, lactose-free, fat-free, no animal ingredients, and non-GMO. So, sick.
Use your hands and incorporate those onions and beef real well. Grab that reserve stock. We're gonna make a beurre monté, which is a French sauce mounted with butter. We're gonna use that to baste our phyllo dough and get those nice flaky layers. Now we dig deep and channel our inner Balkan grandmother. Go ahead and grab your designated phyllo bedsheet. If you don't have one, you do now. Dust your bedcloth with some flour and throw that first ball of phyllo dough down. Sprinkle the top of that with some flour as well and get your rolling pin and start rolling it out. We're gonna try and get it as thin as we possibly can before we start stretching with our hands. The dough should be supple and easy to stretch, and that's because we gave it plenty of time to rest and really develop those gluten bonds. Now we're gonna work around the edges, stretching the dough, gently working all the way around the edges until we can get it as thin as humanly possible. We don't want it to break, but if it does, don't stress it. We're gonna be folding it over on itself, and it's still gonna maintain that integrity. You really wanna focus on getting a nice, even thinness across the entire phyllo dough, because that's gonna end up giving you the best product at the end. Now grab your beef and chicken mixtures, and we're gonna start placing those on the phyllo dough on opposite sides of each other. We don't want to go all the way to the center. We want to go about 2/3 of the way in to protect the meats from burning while they're cooking in the oven. Now grab that beurre monté and sprinkle it liberally across all the phyllo, making sure to get good coverage. Grab the edge of the bed sheet and lift and let gravity do its own thing, rolling your pies up. Not too tight, but not too loose. Take a knife and run it down the middle to separate your two pies from each other. Now cut off any ends that have a little bit too much dough and not anything on the inside. Those aren't going to be too pleasant to eat. And now gently roll your pies up into a spiral shape. You don't want to roll them too tight. You're going to want to repeat this process for all the phyllo dough you have. And you should end up with 8 pies. You're gonna throw it in your oven at 450 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes until you get some color on it. Pull them out, pour over some of that beurre monté all over them. Lower your oven to about 350 and back into the oven until they are done, golden brown, delicious.
So there we have it. Just regular, traditional burek, flaky, crispy, beefy, greasy, delicious. Buffalo chicken pita. Is it a monstrosity? Yes. Does it break tradition? Yes. Is it delicious? Yes. And that should be all that matters. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, subscribe, follow, or don't. You'll only be hurting my feelings. So, no big deal. Love you. Bye.